This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We end today's show looking at Donald Trump's renewed war on the press, which he's often called the enemy of the people. And in one recent rally, he talked about how someone could shoot through the press. On Monday, the president-elect sued the Des Moines Register. Parent company is Gannett, and the pollster Ann Seltzer for publishing a poll just before the election that showed Trump trailing Harris in Iowa. Well, Trump ended up easily winning the state. He's now accusing the paper of committing, quote, brazen election interference, unquote. Trump laid out his plans to target the Des Moines Register and other news outlets during a news conference Monday at Mar-a-Lago.
And I feel I have to do this. I shouldn't really be the one to do it. It should have been the Justice Department or somebody else, but I have to do it. It costs a lot of money to do it, but we have to straighten out the press. Our press is very corrupt, almost as corrupt as our elections.
Trump's lawsuit against the Des Moines Register came just days after ABC News, which is owned by Disney, settled a defamation suit filed by Trump. The network agreed to donate $15 million to Trump's presidential library and pay $1 million in legal fees to Trump's lawyer. Trump sued the network after ABC anchor George Stephanopoulos said Trump was found liable for rape in a 2023 civil case in Manhattan brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. ABC has been widely criticized for agreeing to settle instead of going to court to fight what many believed to be a winnable case. The prominent attorney, Mark Elias, responded to the settlement by writing, "Knee-bent, ring-kissed. Another legacy news outlet chooses obedience," unquote. The New York Times is reporting Trump and his allies are threatening to file more defamation lawsuits in an attempt to crack down on unfavorable media coverage. Trump has also picked Kash Patel to head the FBI. Patel has a record of threatening to go after journalists. We're joined now by Chris Lehman, D.C. bureau chief for The Nation. His latest piece is headlined, "Trump's attack on the free press is just getting started." Chris, start off with the Des Moines Register suit and then move on to ABC. What's happening here?
Well, what's happening is a very clear pattern in Trump's public life. It actually well antedates his rise to political power. He made a practice of frequently going after journalists for defamation. He famously sued one of his biographers who wrote in his this biography that Trump did not qualify as a billionaire. And in his subsequent deposition, Trump basically said he was a billionaire because he felt like a billionaire. This is a long-standing pattern of just intimidation of the press, and Trump was very open as a private business person that was his aim. He wanted to exert a chilling effect on people doing critical reporting from him. Now, of course, he has the awesome power, the federal government behind him, or prospectively behind him, and ABC disgracefully capitulated right away. And the Des Moines Register suit is a clear augur of what's lying ahead. At the Mar-a-Lago conference you mentioned, Trump also threatened to sue Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward, the Pulitzer Peace Prize committee for these, alleged offenses against basically Trump's bottomless vanity. So by capitulating, sort of preemptively the way ABC has, this news organization has set the stage for a torrent of similar suits like this. Trump will end his henchmen like Kash Patel. Also, Pete Hesgeth has threatened a defamation suit against the person alleging sexual assault against him. This will be a prime MO of the second Trump administration, and it's very worrisome that even before Trump takes office, ABC is without cause giving in. It sends a very distressing signal. In point of fact, what George Stephanopoulos said on the air was just a paraphrase of what the judge in the E. Jean Carroll case said. He said that even though Trump's conduct in the case did not rise to the strict definition of rape under New York law, any common sense understanding of rape suggests that Trump did, in fact, commit that act. So
the judge said that.
The judge in the case. So this was not George Stephanopoulos just randomly popping off on the air. It was a documented claim.
And Chris, I wanted to ask you, in the Des Moines Register lawsuit, Trump is alleging consumer fraud by the Des Moines Register as a weapon. Could you talk about that particularly, and also the impact on these media companies, of many of which tend to want to settle just to get rid of a lawsuit?
Right. Yeah, the fraud charge is, as far as I know, has no legal basis. You can't, just say because a pollster got something wrong, there's some deliberate intent to mislead. It's a plainly frivolous suit, but that is the point. This is a show of power on the part of an administration that we know from its prior term in office takes every opportunity to demonize, harass, and intimidate the free press. So, the Des Moines Register suit is very much like the Trump biography suit I mentioned earlier. It's just his vanity was affronted by poll findings that, turned out to be wrong. I don't know what he can assert the damage has been if he won Iowa by 15 points after this poll was released. It is just a plain effort to harass and intimidate. To its credit, the Register's parent company, unlike Disney, which owns ABC, indicates it will be putting up a robust defense, and in a sane court system, they will prevail. But, all of this takes resources and money. And as you mentioned, Juan, big companies don't want to be bothered with the hassle of, going through to court, even though, these companies also have libel insurance precisely for cases like this. And they don't actually, tend to suffer in terms of the bottom line.
I mean, this is extremely serious. When you look at the amount that ABC settled for, they were just about to go to depositions, right, of George Stephanopoulos and Trump, to discovery. So ABC called that off. $15 million plus another $1 million for lawyers' fees. Any smaller news organization couldn't possibly deal with something like this. Then you have these news divisions that are not, profitable. They only profit democracy, but so-called, financially profitable from these multinational or these very large corporations that own lots of other things, like Bezos with the Washington Post. And they care more about that other stuff. They don't want to be seen unfavorably by Trump. So they settle on the news issue. This is so extremely disturbing.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you have large corporations who are not, they don't have journalistic values, they don't have journalistic priorities. As you said, the news operations are lost leaders for these figures, and Jeff Bezos has billions of dollars in government contracts. A publisher of the LA Times, it's the same story. He has extensive pharmaceutical holdings that come under federal regulation. So he, too, is preemptively knuckling under to the Trump administration. He's killed editorials critical of Trump. He's installed this absurd new feature for readers of the paper to track bias, and he's insisted that anything critical of Trump run alongside in the op-ed section something that's the opposite point of view. This is more than just callow both-sidesism. This is just craven corporate misconduct.
That's Patrick Soon-Shiong, who owns the Los Angeles Times.
Thank you. Yes. This is what happens.
Chris, I wanted to ask you, we only have about a minute left. I wanted to ask you about the potential, what Trump could do with the FCC, and especially in terms of broadcasters. Are there any concerns in that area?
Oh, absolutely. Cameron Barr, his nominee to head the FCC, is a very vocal critic of, what in MAGA land is considered, mainstream media censorship. He has gone on and on about how big tech in particular is, during COVID and at other times have allegedly suppressed pet MAGA causes and talking points. So, yeah, there's a very real and immediate danger of, the call will be coming from inside the White House soon when, Trump's FCC starts implementing policy. And it is all of a piece. It's really important to underline that, what we're going to see, I think, is what happened in Hungary under Orban's rise to power. Trump and J.D. Vance are both ardent admirers of Viktor Orban, and Orban basically used his version of Elon Musk to buy out the national press and turn it into a party propaganda arm. And, that is a very real and present danger with Trump coming back into power and feeling this kind of impunity and this drive to avenge the people he sees as his enemies. It's crucial that the press hold the line and, follow the example of the Des Moines Register and not the example of ABC News.
We want to thank you, Chris Lehman, for being with us, D.C. Bureau Chief for The Nation. We'll link to your piece. Trump's attack on the free press is just getting started. That does it for our show. Democracy Now! Is produced with Mike Burke, Anjali Kamat, Renee Feltz, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Nermeen Sheikh, Maria Taracena, Tammy Warnoff, Charina Nadura, Sam Alcoff, Tamery Astudio, John Hamilton, Ravi Karen, Hani Massoud, Hannah Elias. Our Executive Director, Julie Crosby. Special thanks to Becca Staley, John Randolph, Paul Powell, Mike DeFilippo, Miguel Noguera, Dennis Moynihan. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give.